Different's great, but being different for the sake of being different, I'm not a big fan of, right? If you just want to be different for the sake
technology
of it.
Technology, I would hide behind it.
And you start to hear some of their challenges, and yes.
Because it speaks to the core of who you are and what drives you forward. Because what makes you different is what drives you. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Master Connector Show. I'm Rob Genovese. I'm one of the co-hosts today. Look, I hope you are tuning in every single week. We're coming at you live every Wednesday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And if you want to see what's coming up, look, we got a lot of great guests coming up. You know, my co-host and good buddy, Steve Spiro, he's booking us amazing guests. We want to bring you the people who can give you the insights, the experiences, the awareness that you need to level up, to create better connections and create community. If you want to go to masterconnector.show, you want to see some of the upcoming guests we're having, we are booked through the entire year. It won't be reflected on the site just yet, but we're definitely on the site through the summer into the fall. We're going to get that updated even more so you can see and plan accordingly and put on your calendar to be here every single week, Wednesday at 1 p.m., masterconnector.show to see upcoming shows. You know, Steve and I, we go back, it's still debatable about this, but we go back somewhere around 25, 26 years or so. I was clueless. We are both introverts, two former shy guys who really didn't know how to talk to people effectively, communicate with people, and certainly not be able to connect with people. But today we have come a long way. Personal journeys, our paths diverged at one point, came together through networking, and now we're doing the show together. And Steve is the Master Connector. Now, through what we've learned, the people we've met, the books we've read, the mentors we've listened to, we have learned to connect with people. And, you know, I'd like to say that I am a Master Connector, but there is only one, the Master Connector, and that is my buddy, Steve Spiro. Come on, Steve. Let's kick off the show. What's up, Steve?
What's going on, Rob? You are a Master Connector. And listen, if you're on the show, you are a Master Connector. You are. I mean, anyone on here can be that. So I appreciate the friendship. Welcome back. We missed not having you on the show with us yesterday, but we're glad last week, but we're glad that you're with us today. So amazing. 25, 26, 27 years. It's still amazing. And the transformation I've seen in you has been incredible. So I just appreciate you, buddy. Well, what's going on, friends? Steve Spiro, the Master Connector, coming at you live and direct. And, you know, listen, as the Master Connector, as Rob said, you know, I often speak on stage about the transformative power, you know, healing oneself and finding peace. And, you know, one of the topics that can really hold us back is forgiveness. And not just of others, but often of ourselves. You know, and I held on to some of that for a very, very long time, being bullied and picked on, and a lot of ridicule growing up, and then a lot of self-hate, you know. But forgiveness is not just a moral imperative. It's a crucial step in personal growth and healing. You know, by choosing to forgive, we release the heavy burden of resentment and open ourselves to new possibilities and relationships. I can tell you that's so true. As I've been able to be more open-minded and more others-focused, I've developed some incredible relationships, including the amazing guests you can hear from today. You know, but forgiveness doesn't mean just forgetting or condoning, you know, past wrongs. Not at all, right? It means reclaiming our peace and taking control of our narrative, right? And through my experience, you know, and those I've encountered, I've seen how forgiveness can mend broken hearts and rebuild trust and foster deeper connections. And right. And that's what we're about, the Master Connector Show. And so, you know, once you've been able to develop those relationships and be able to be open, and I love, you know, sharing my vulnerabilities and my insecurities, walls break down. I love speaking about that on stage, of breaking down barriers by being authentic and being others focused. Right. But when you harbor unforgiveness, especially of others, that can lead to resentment. And resentment, someone, you know, resenting someone, in my opinion, is like drinking poison yourself, thinking it will harm the person you're resentful of, right? but forgiveness is a powerful tool, and it allows us to move forward in clarity and purpose, unshaken, unshackled by past traumas. Right? Embracing forgiveness is about serving ourselves and others, creating a ripple effect of healing, growth, and communities. Right? So I'm gonna have Rob introduce our guest, but before we do that, I just want to say, listen, we appreciate you, Greg. Great seeing you here, sir. Unfortunately, this person here, you're not showing up as somebody that we have we can acknowledge, but if you put your name in there, we can acknowledge you if you put that in the comments. But we just appreciate everyone, our community. We have an incredible community. Get in the comments, connect with each other. We don't believe in LinkedIn lurkers. We believe in LinkedIn participants. So get in, connect with each other. Make sure you're, again, this is about this connection, this Master Connector show. So get in, connect with each other. Let us know what city, what state, what country you're from, if you're from another country. And yeah, we'd love to hear from you. Any questions, any things you'd like to hear from our amazing speaker, please feel free to throw that into the comments. But in the meantime, I'm going to have my amazing guest, my amazing co-host come in to introduce the guest. So type in hashtag Let's Go. And by the way, hello, Yolanda from Texas. So appreciate you. Anyway, Rob G,
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. So like I was saying earlier, we have amazing guests on this show. And it's one of the reasons I wanted to do this with Steve, to connect with people who are making things happen, accomplishing things, doing things that create positive effect in other people's lives. So today, get ready, buckle in, because we got an amazing guest. Maria Trusa is an author, entrepreneur, and social activist. She's the CEO of Forme Medical Center and the founder of Yo Digo No Mas, a nonprofit organization which raises awareness of the high prevalence of child sexual and provides support through prevention and education to break the silence and the cycle of child sexual abuse for survivors and families to begin their healing journeys. She's also the co-founder of Forgiveness to Live, a program where she helps women rewrite their stories by coming face to face with the hidden triggers that are holding them back in life. Please welcome to the show, Maria Trusa. Hey, Maria.
Hi, Rob. Thank you. Hi, Steve. Thank you so much for having me here. What an honor. Thank you.
It is our honor to have you on our show, but thank you. We appreciate that. We know our community, our audience is going to be blessed by hearing you. So where do you hail from? I think you're in Nueva York person.
I'm
like
in
that.
New York. And
Yeah.
by the way, Rob, you said that beautifully. Yo digo no mas.
Yo digo más.
Good job.
Those are some of the few Spanish words that I've ever spoken, by the way.
Those are good words to say. No mas. I say no more. Thank you. I'm in West Harrison. I live in West Harrison, New York, and my business, Forme Medical Center, is in White Plains.
Love it. Yep. Absolutely. West Harrison, Silver Lake. Love it. Great little place. Love it.
Yeah.
Good stuff. So we're going to dig right in here, and we want to start with stories. So community, type in hashtag story. And Maria, can you share again? We have 6 or so questions plus whatever Rob wants to ask. So we want to keep this concise, but can you share your journey from trauma to becoming wildly successful today? Can you give us a little bit of that, please?
Absolutely. Thank you, Steve. I was listening to you talk about forgiveness. What is forgiveness? And I call myself the ambassador of forgiveness. And it has to do, realizing where I come from. I come from a very traumatic childhood. I was born and raised in the Dominican Republic. I came to the United States when I was 15 years old. And the first decade of my life was a decade that could have really destroyed my life to the point of becoming a drug addict, there's so much negativity that could have happened from what I experienced. And unfortunately, so many people, this is their story. When I was in the Dominican Republic, and by the way, I have my book, and I'm going to go very quickly through the story, but I want to share with you that in this book, I did not leave anything. This book takes you through the pain that I went through, but it takes you through the healing, and all my healing tools are here, where I've gotten to where I'm at today, which is the woman that is the ambassador of forgiveness. When I was 9 years old, and I'll go to the story due to the fact that we don't have a lot of time. my father made the biggest mistake of his life, and a mistake that almost ruined my life, but it actually ruined my life for decades. He came in the middle of the night, and I come from a very, very small town in the Dominican Republic. And in the middle of the night, he was taking my little brother that was 4 years old with his friend who was a witchcraft man, el brujo, as we called him in the DR. I took my little brother from my father's arm, and my father took me. My father left me with el brujo. And, it's so interesting because I tell the story over 600 times, but I got to tell you, the body keeps the score, because as I'm sharing the story with you, I'm feeling my heart rate go faster and feeling heat. But it is important for me to tell the story because this is the story, like I said, of millions of children, and I have become the voice for the voiceless. My father left me there and went home to sleep. El brujo took me to the place where he did witchcraft and forced me to drink a bottle of whiskey at the age of 9. I could have died from the whiskey. But the whiskey became a savior for me, because what was about to happen, if I was completely aware of everything, I don't know if I'd be here speaking with you today, because the man brutally raped me. He took me to a motel and raped me the whole night, to the point that when I woke up in the morning, I couldn't walk. I couldn't walk, and I thought I was dying. I ended up having to have surgery. I had my right ovary got twisted in my fallopian tubes. And that started the journey of pain for me. At the age of 9, I wanted to die. I know that if I knew how to do it, I would have done it, because I realized that when you feel that you're in a tunnel of darkness, that there is just no way that you're going to get out, the pain was too great for me. I wanted the floor to suck me and just bury me. I wanted to be buried. That's how much pain I was in. And that journey started decades of life of making decisions that really were toxic. When it came to men, I was abused by my ex-husband. I got married at the age of 17. I chose a man based on the title that I was giving, and my father gave me a title without realizing that I was worthless. I was worthless. So my decisions, as Joseph Murphy from the book, The Power of the Subconscious Mind, he talks about how we are programmed, we are built as subconscious when we are born by the people that raised you in the environment. And my subconscious was the subconscious of worthless. So I chose men that would abuse me, that would hurt me, and that would treat me like garbage, because to me, I was worthless. And it wasn't until my son was born at the age of 20 that I realized how broken I was. And I realized that if I didn't get help, I was actually, I could do something really, really drastic and something dramatic to my child. Because at the age of 3 months old, when that baby was born, let me tell you, I was fully disconnected. When my son was 3 months old, my son was a really difficult baby. And now I am working, I am cleaning, I'm doing everything, and I'm taking care of this baby at night. And one night, my son would not stop crying. And I took my baby and I threw him in the bed, and my baby fell on the floor. And that story hurts to say it. My son is now 40 years old, and my son knows the story. My son has heard me tell the story, and my son has forgiven me, and I forgive him myself. because he actually became the catalyst for my healing. That's when my healing started. And I tell the story, Stephen, Rob, because you see, we're all capable of good, bad, and ugly. Every single one of us. And I realize that's why I have so much compassion for people, because I said to myself, if I am this, what I consider myself a Christian woman, a good woman, and I could do this to my child, I had an out-of-body experience. And I thank God that that actually happened, because the woman that I am today started there. My healing started there. And I know I've said a lot. And for those of you that are watching that, I know I triggered many people, because this story is a different version, but the story of sexual abuse of children is a story that unfortunately is a silent pandemic, as I call it, because we don't talk about it. And I'm sorry if I triggered you, but I've said a lot, so I'm open for other questions.
So, first of all, Maria, thank you for sharing the tragedy of your life. But I wanna hone in on something, because we really want to give value and give insight to the audience. And that's, a lot of times when I hear tragic stories, there's an epiphany, there's a turning point, there's a moment in time, it might be a decision time, that a person can either choose to continue down the destructive path, or the path that leads them towards, further self-destruction, or to change things around. We've all heard the stories of two people from the inner city, came from the same neighborhood. One goes on to be a financial and public success. The other one ends up in prison for the rest of their life. They both came from the same environment. So what's the difference? And we hear the stories of, one said, well, what could you expect? That's all I know. And the other said, what could you expect? I had to get out of there. So are you saying at the moment when you threw your baby down and you fell to the floor, was that the moment when you realized, hey, I have to make a change? Was that what triggered it?
Definitely. I did not recognize that woman. I realized how my past was actually showing up, because one thing that we do, Rob, is that we think our traumas are not with us, because we say, well, I left the DR, the doors of JF Kennedy opened, and I am never speaking about my story ever again. But my story was with me. My trauma was with me. I had not even thought of resolving this trauma. I did not really get therapy. I was a broken woman, and my son was that accelerator. And we all get accelerators in our lives, but sometimes we are so broken that we don't even see them. So yes, that was a turning point for me. It doesn't mean that I healed that moment. I became aware, and I decided that I was not going to continue being a victim, that I was going to be a creator. So my focus became, how do I heal? How do I not blame people? How do I just focus on what do I need to do so that this child has a better chance than I did?
Yeah. I love it. I love it. I appreciate that big time. And thanks, Rob, for bringing that out, which really leads me to a question. I want to dig in on this, and you're kind of touching on it. So I want to kind of dig a little deeper. So community, type in the hashtag advice, because I want to talk about, what advice do you have for individuals that are struggling to forgive and to move past their own traumas, right? I know you had, that epiphany, but what's some things, tangible things you might be able to pass on to the community?
It is critical that you reconnect with your inner child. You see, every decision, if you're in a place where you don't feel connected, you don't feel, you feel the resentment, you feel that you're stuck in this tunnel of darkness, as I call it, where, sometimes you see a little bit of light seeping through, but most of the time there's darkness. You need to forgive to live. So when we are forgiving for ourselves. And people tell me, well, how do you start? You decide that you no longer want to be stuck in darkness, that you are making this decision for yourself. And in order for you to really start digging and understanding what actions are you doing today, that your inner child is the one that's driving, because we think that we as adults are making the decisions, but until you really dig in and connect to your inner child, you are not understanding what is happening in your life and why you're getting the results. So connect to your inner child. That is critical. People say to me, well, how could you tell me to forgive? Because what happened to me was horrible. Like this is, how do I, you're not saying that. And I love, you were talking about that. Both of you were talking about, it's not like you're saying that it's okay what happened to you. No, what happened to me should have never happened. I had zero control. My father had the control. But what I have control of is how I show up today for me. How do I live a limitless life by being able to forgive so that I can live? It's a choice. Forgiveness is a choice. And once you choose, and I have to say that I actually was very blessed, because my father, this book is dedicated to him as well. And many people say to me, how could you do that? How could you forgive your dad? Well, for years I didn't. But when my son was born a year later, I get a call from my uncle saying, your dad, I've never saw my dad after 9, never. My dad, I got a call that he was dying. He had a brain tumor. And my father I wrote to my uncle in his dying bed, could you please call Maria and ask her for forgiveness? And I got that phone call, and I can tell you that I prayed because I did not want to give him that forgiveness. I resented him. My father was with me every single day. That's how much I couldn't even look at a picture of my dad. And that day, when I was asked, I prayed and I found it within my heart to let him go in peace. And I forgave him. And a few minutes later, I get a call from my uncle saying, my father's last tears were the tears of my forgiveness. He went in peace, but he didn't take that peace with him. He left it with me. And I remember that moment. It was like turning the light on. And I was like, wow. If I could forgive my dad, then I could forgive myself for doing what I did to my son. And that started the forgiveness for me. And I can tell you that I live forgiveness every single day. And the beauty of living a life that is full of forgiveness is that I am so focused. I am laser focused, because I do not allow the resentment, the hate, the anger, all of those negative emotions are not taking over any real estate in my brain or my body.
Maria, I just want to interrupt for a second, because it sounds like what you're saying is in the face of that kind of tragedy, you can't go on to live your best life without forgiving those who hurt us, or even ourselves for what we've done, even if nobody knows about it, right? In our own mind, you cannot go on. You cannot achieve and accomplish unless you forgive. Is that what you're saying?
Completely. If you want to have a limitless life, if you want to be more successful, if you want to be an entrepreneur that is thriving, you need to connect with your inner child. That inner child, you have to connect and let that inner child know that you are forgiving. That you are forgiving the people that hurt you, that you're taking care. I'm responsible now. I'm taking care of you. When you do this, you will live a limitless life. I mean, think about those of you that are watching. Think about how much how much energy you're spending with those negative emotions because you decide that you're going to continue. I don't blame my dad for anything else that is happening in my life today. I don't blame my ex-husband for all the things that I went through. My ex-husband, I reconciled with my ex-husband. I'm forgiving. I've been married twice. So you could see that the healing continues. And I spent a lot of time for the past year working on my relationship with men because I realized that I chose them. So when you take responsibility and you say, I am responsible for the results that I'm getting in my life today. And in order for me to get different results, I got to do something different. And if I hold on to the anger, to the resentment, to the envy, to the judgment, then I am not living my limitless life.
The takeaway there that I took, and I think this is key for everybody because, we've all got baggage, right? Some more than others. But what you said is, I am responsible.
Yeah.
Dot. Right? Because I know I had played that game. It's like, well, you don't know what I went through. You don't know what I was. You don't know what. It doesn't matter, right? It's only up to us. So I am responsible for getting past whatever is holding me back. So I thought that was a great takeaway. Thank you, Maria.
Absolutely.
Great takeaway. And I've also heard this. You're either a victim or a victor, right? And I just want to call out before we close down the show here. Yolanda, great point. Forgiving someone doesn't mean you're justifying their actions or forgetting what happened. It's about choosing not to let the past control your present. Very good point, Yolanda. Thank you for that. Good to see Kirby on the show here with us. And we also have somebody who we can't, unfortunately, we don't know who you are, but are assuming that all people care on both sides. So one thing I just want to say as we wrap up, right? So this has been great. And, my perspective, again, not trying to compare in any way how horrific you went through. I was bullied and picked on, not the same. However, I believe that shaped who I am today, and I made it into a strength of mine because it got me, the edge. I had an edge to succeed, to prove them wrong. I had I went back. I went to the martial arts, got a couple black belts. Right, it pushed me to do things that I probably wouldn't have done if those horrible things, again, not as horrible as what you've been through, but horrible things didn't happen to me. So again, big part of our pillar of our show, and why you may be wondering why we talk of forgiveness. Well, big part of our pillar of our show is having the grit to overcome obstacles. And this is a big part of it. And forgiveness, I think, is a huge part. So we really appreciate you, Maria. Thank you for having blessing our community with this for sure, with your message. And looks like somebody's acknowledging it. So I think it's Greg.
Things that I need to say, Steve, to what you said. Number one is every trauma is your individual trauma. Doesn't need to be compared. What I went through, it's horrific. Yes, but what you went through is your horrific, own horrific. So I want to acknowledge that. And number two is, you see, your resilience that you built, surviving what you survived, becomes your superpower. I am Superwoman. I'm Wonder Woman. Because to me, I'm able to disconnect from emotions. That was one of the things that I did, but I do it consciously. I do it very aware that I'm going to bring my little girl because she is a resilient of cookie. And she comes out and I disconnect, but then I connect. And that becomes a superpower.
So thank you, Maria. So listen, for our audience, you're going to be glad you tuned in today, because Maria is about to tell you something. She's got a giveaway for you guys, something to help you bless you even further past this show. Maria, why don't you tell our audience what you're offering?
So I'm going to give 3 books to the first 3 people that connect with me in LinkedIn. And I'm going to autograph them and send them to you. So privately, you'll be able to send me your address and I will send it to you. And this book is the donations. When you buy this book, which I would recommend to all of you, this has been called a life guide by CNN, Univision, Telemundo. And I want to tell you, it's both in Spanish and English. And in this book, I am donating all the proceeds to the movement that is fighting against sexual abuse of children and protecting the innocence of our children. Thank you guys so much.
Maria, what's the best way for our community to reach you? Is it LinkedIn, or do you have a website? What's the best way?
And when they go on LinkedIn, you'll see the authenticity that my posts are very authentic. I have a website, mariatrusat.org, and I'm on Facebook, Instagram, you name it. You can Google me and you'll see all the stuff that I'm doing.
Well, we really appreciate you being on the show. We're going to have you go into the green room, but thank you again for amazing conversation. Robbie G? Yeah, amazing, right?
Oh my gosh. What a powerful story. And I know we were only scratching the surface, but look, we got to cram in what we can cram in this time, but we know for sure Maria has helped people for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, I'm just going to jump right to this, right? And I just want to say thank you for the community. You make this show. We appreciate you in a major, mighty way. Next week, by the way, incredible. I am so pumped. This is a hero of mine. I read his book 15, 20 years ago, The Courage to Succeed, Ruben Gonzalez. He's a 4-time Olympian. Incredible. Started his Olympic journey at, I think, 21 years old. Incredible, man. You don't want to miss the show. Obviously, I'm glad you got to see Maria. But next week, same bad time, same bad channel. Tell your friends about it. It's going to be incredible. And by the way, if you'd like to learn about how to be a sponsor of an episode, make sure to go to masterconnector.show. And also to see, as Rob said in the beginning of the show, some of the up-and-coming shows that we have. We have an incredible lineup coming up, as he said. But I want to close with a story. Elizabeth Smart, who was kidnapped and held captive for 9 months, chose to forgive her captors after being rescued. Her remarkable strength and decision to focus on advocacy, working for child safety and recovery, have inspired many to find resilience and hope after trauma. Elizabeth's story shows how forgiveness and moving forward can transform personal suffering into a powerful source of inspiration for others. Remember, let's go inspire people. Let's be the light, and we'll see you next week. Appreciate you guys.
And you start to hear some of their challenges, and yes,
because it speaks to the core of who you are and what drives you forward. Because what makes you different is what drives you.